If you only act when it feels good, your life's gonna drift. Days will blur, weeks will vanish, and before you know it, 10 years will look exactly like the last 10. And that's the trap that most men never crawl out of. I'm gonna give you the 7 tools that break that cycle. These are tools that make you move, even when every single part of you screams to quit. One of them is gonna flip your brain in 5 seconds, and another is gonna kill that snooze button for good. If you actually use them, you're gonna turn into the guy who gets things done. Not the guy who talks about it, not the guy who waits to be ready, but the man who moves regardless of how he feels. And you're not gonna get hype. You're gonna get mental weapons, the same ones that I used to build a 9-figure revenue company from my garage. You're gonna cut through laziness, hesitation, and excuses by the end. And here's the truth. The men who master these aren't smarter. They're not luckier. They just know how to override feelings with action. That's what I'm gonna teach you in these 7 practical steps. Step 1 is all about the myth of motivation. So let me tell you a quick story. Back when I was younger, every New Year's, my best friend Harry and I, we'd sit down and we'd map out our goals. Same routine every January. This was the year that we were gonna get in shape. We're gonna make some money and we're gonna finally build something to take control of our destinies. And Harry, he would always come out swinging. He had the journals, he had the fancy planners, he had the vision boards. He was always telling me about the law of attraction. The first week, he was unstoppable. He was up at dawn, eating clean, hitting the gym, building his company. But by week 2, you could start to see the cracks. The excuses crept in by text message. I'll do it twice on Monday, or I'm not feeling it today. I'll catch up later. You know the drill. We ended up drifting apart because I didn't want to be treated like that. I wanted someone who was focused on discipline too. Truth is, most mornings, I didn't want to get up either, just like Harry, but I forced myself. And there was no vision board for me. There was no manifestation. I was just showing up again and again, regardless of how I felt. And then fast forward a few months, Harry was still getting ready and he was spinning his wheels close to the same spot that he started in. But me, I'd already started changing my life. I started the path to becoming a multimillionaire. I got in the best shape of my life, and that's when it clicked. Harry thought motivation was the fuel, but I learned that motivation is a ghost. It's there when the sun's shining, and then it leaves when the storm rolls in. It's gone that fast. But discipline is different. Discipline is forged in the rain and the cold. So here's the question. Are you living your life like Harry, chasing that short burst of motivation? Or are you stepping into the harder road of discipline like I did? Drop in the comments right now because I want to know where you're at. Step number 2, I choose my identity over my feelings. So let me give you the real shift. You got to stop letting feelings call the shots. You got to start letting your identity do that because your feelings, they're going to flip every hour. You're tired, you're hungry, you're stressed. They change like the weather, but your identity, that's rock solid. It's like a foundation. That's who you're becoming. So when you're wiped out, here's the question to ask. What would the best version of me do right now? Not the lazy guy, not the I'll start tomorrow guy, the future me, the one that I'm chasing. What would that guy do? Would he ever skip the gym? Would he scroll on social media for 2 hours? Would he hit snooze at 5 a.m. multiple times? No, he'd get up, he'd move, he'd do the work no matter how he felt, even when he hated it, especially when he hated it. That's how your identity gets built. One forced choice at a time. Step 3 is the 5-second rule. So this is a weapon I've been using secretly, and I actually call it the Cape Canaveral rule because it works like a rocket launch. The second you hesitate, your brain starts cutting deals with you. It's in negotiations all the time. It'll tell you that it's too cold or do it later, or one more scroll for a few hours and that won't hurt. That's your launch window for your rocket and it's closing. So here's how you beat it. Start a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then boom, commit. Feet on the floor, shoes on, laptop open, gym bag loaded, whatever it is, you're moving in a direction. It sounds almost too simple, right? But it hacks your brain once you start training it to count down your launch window from 5 to 1. The longer you sit in hesitation, the more gravity pulls you back down. The excuses are going to get heavier. But when you launch, you escape that pull. You act before your brain has time to negotiate with you. So next time you feel that resistance, run the Cape Canaveral rule. Count it down. Blast off. That's how you rewire yourself to act without overthinking. And here's where the pain comes in, because pain can be useful. If NASA misses their launch window to Mars, the trip isn't just delayed, it becomes months longer. That's the pain of hesitation. That's the cost of waiting. Discipline is the same way. Every time you miss your window, the journey to your goal gets harder, longer, and a hell of a lot more painful. So I'll break down pain in the next step, but remember this. Missing the window hurts a lot more than the discomfort of just launching when you're supposed to. So next time you feel that resistance or your mind negotiating with your body, run the Cape Canaveral rule. Count it down from 5. That's how you rewire yourself to act without overthinking. Step 4 is all about pain versus pleasure. Let's be real about it though. Your brain's wired for comfort. It wants that quick hit right now. That's why scrolling social media feels easier than building your business. And that's why pizza tastes better than a lot of your protein-based foods. And that's why the bed wins at 5 a.m. instead of the gym. But here's the catch. Comfort today turns into pain tomorrow. And every easy choice looks harmless up front, but it carries a price tag. It could be regret, low energy, or the worst is wasted years. And every hard choice, that's where the payoff hides. It's pride, strength, freedom, and autonomy. So here's the move. Flip your equation. When comfort tempts you, picture the pain vividly. Go there in your mind's eye. And when discipline stings, picture that reward. Do that, and suddenly the hard road feels like the only road worth taking in your life. Step 5 is one of my favorites. It's micro wins. Because look, you don't have to climb the whole mountain today. Whatever that summit is, that's what paralyzes most people. They stare at the peak and it feels impossible. All you've got to do is take that next step. I heard a story about micro wins in Tibet, and I'll never forget it. A monk was walking through the woods one day, and he came across a huge block of stone. But right in the middle of it was a hole. It was perfectly carved through solid rock. And he looked closer and he saw why. A single drop of water was drip, drip, drip. It might have been years and years and years, or maybe even decades and decades, but it had drilled straight through the solid stone. Now think about that. 1 drop couldn't do anything, and 10 drops certainly couldn't either, even 1,000. But over time, over the years or decades, steady, relentless drop after drop, it cut through something that no man could crack with his bare hands. Discipline works the same way. 1 push-up feels like nothing, and 1 page of reading feels like nothing. But stacked every day, that's the evidence. That's the drip that cuts through the stone, and that's how ordinary actions turn you into someone who's unstoppable. Step 6 is coach yourself and don't criticize. But let's be real. You're going to screw up a lot. We all will. And you're going to skip that workout sometimes. You'll eat that junk food and you'll blow off the deep work that you promised on your business. And this is where most men collapse. They don't just miss once, they spiral. That's the death trap. The real failure isn't the slip up. It's letting that slip become your identity. So picture this. Imagine a father watching his son stumble. Does he say you're worthless when he sees him fall? You'll never be anything? No, a real father says, get back up. You're stronger than this. You're my son. 1 mistake doesn't define you. And that's how you need to speak to yourself, not as an enemy tearing yourself down, but as a father building you up. Because here's the truth. Slip-ups aren't just moments, and they don't rewrite your whole story. 1 broken day doesn't erase a lifetime of your progress. I mean, if you're 21 years old, you've had 21 years of trying. And the line between losers and winners, it isn't perfect, it's persistence. Losers stay down. Winners get up. And they get up again and again and again. Discipline is not about never failing. It's about getting up every single time that you fall. Step 7 is the deathbed test. Now, let me drop the hammer on why choosing discipline is not optional. Picture this. You're old, you're weak, and you're laying in bed at the end of your life, and you're staring back at everything you did and everything you didn't do. And in that moment of clarity, you will not care how tired you were. You won't care how brutal those early mornings felt, and you won't care how uncomfortable discipline was at each one of those moments in your life. You're going to care about one thing. Did I keep my word to myself, or did I waste my shot at this precious life? Because here's the truth. Discipline weighs ounces, but regret weighs tons. And once you're at that bed, there are no do-overs. It's game over soon. So don't wait. Don't drift. Force yourself now while time's still on your side. Remember the line from the movie Gladiator. What we do in this life echoes in eternity. And your choices today are the echoes they're going to have to live with tomorrow. So you don't need motivation. You don't need perfect conditions. What you need is grit and discipline, the ability to move when you least want to. Because every I don't feel like it, that's a fork in the road that determines your destiny. And one path leads to weakness and the other to greatness. So the next time you hesitate, move. The next time comfort calls, take the harder road. And the next time you feel like quitting, remember your deathbed. Force yourself today so your future self can look back with pride instead of regret. And if you're serious about becoming unbreakable, hit that subscribe button because this is just the beginning. Now you've got this, and I want to see you go do your thing. And before you go, you can watch my last video by clicking right here.